Christmas can jingle and be jolly, but if you tend toward the bleak midwinter, the 1944's Christmas holiday is for you. The title, implying carefree fun, is misleading, as is most everything about this marvelously twisted film. Its stars are Deanna Durbin, the sweet, clean, bubbly teen of peppy musicals, and Gene Kelly, the blue-collar ballet and jazz dancer who brought us Singing in the Rain and An American in Paris. With that cast, surely this must be a life-affirming musical. But again, no, on both fronts.
Are you going to turn against him too?
Mother,
From the day you married him, I think now from the day you met him, you've closed your eyes to what it was all about.
This is noir to its soul. The story starts with a wholesome GI on leave, about to go home to marry his girl over Christmas. And everything about that is misleading. His Dear John letter arrives at that moment, and he ignores his friend's better idea to go with him, and instead plans to confront his ex-fiancée. Weather intervenes, forcing his flight to end in New Orleans. Stuck in a hotel with all the other displaced passengers, he meets a kindly and helpful reporter, who is less kindly and more predatory, with one foot in the criminal world. He takes our GI to a brothel, where he meets Jackie, a depressed prostitute. At this point, you might think you've got the movie figured out. Romance will spark between the two and solve their problems. Actually, the main plot hasn't begun, and the GI is just a spectator to a darker world he never knew existed. That world is now narrated by Jackie, whose real name is Abigail, who tells her story of a naive girl who fell for the last in a line of fading aristocrats, Robert Manette, a charming and good man. That's Kelly, who finally enters the picture. Except he isn't a good man. He is charming, but he's weak, mother-fixated, addicted to gambling, and prone to violence. As she's reciting the story as a lonely prostitute, it's clear that her life with Robert did not end well. And as we catch up with current times, there's still a few cruel surprises to be had. The film is based on a book by Somerset Maugham that Joseph Breen, of the Production Code, had already warned was unfilmable due to prostitution, homosexuality, and incest woven throughout the tale. But that didn't stop screenwriter Herman Mankiewicz of Citizen Kane fame. The trick was not to remove those aspects, but to present them in such a way that they could be ignored or misconstrued, if you were of a mind to do so. Or such that they would go over the head of Breen, which was often the case in films of the time as he was not good with symbolism or subtext. The story could be made more powerful if he could thread the needle, and few were better at that than Mankiewicz. Aiding him was director Robert Siodmak. Siodmak was one of the many refugees from Nazi Germany to find a home in Hollywood. Another was his brother, Kurt, who wrote many of the best horror screenplays of the era, including The Wolfman and I Walked with a Zombie. Robert would make his mark as a director of noirs and thrillers. Mankiewicz and Siodmak's modus operandi was to make everything wrong. Nothing fits. Nothing is as it should be. The universe is out of whack, and everything we've learned to expect in film, particularly in a holiday-titled film released in 1944, is turned on its head. The military graduation ceremony suggests heroism, and our youthful soldier implies goodness. We expect the news that he's been jilted will be rough on him. We don't expect, or I didn't, his first words to be what we normally hear as part of a villain's origin story.
They're not gonna get away with this.
What exactly was he going to do? But that plot thread is cut. Again, not what you'd expect. The soldier sticks around, but he doesn't matter. The brothel is where things really go off kilter. Houses of ill repute weren't allowed by the Production Code, so the novel's Paris Bordello became a New Orleans nightclub.
Like I was telling you. The Maison Lafitte. It's, well, let's face it, it's a kind of joint, a little way out of town. I'm the, Public Relations Counsel, press agent. Yeah, well,
You know, a nightclub, where the male clients pair off with the club's employees and people go to an unseen upstairs. Did Breen really miss that this was a brothel? It's hard to miss. Well, even if it is clear what the place is, it's odd. Doesn't look like a brothel, or like a nightclub, but in old estate, attractive but out of its time. It does have a singer, that's more club-like, but look how Siodmak frames her. She should be in the center, in a normal film, or in a normal world. But she's off-center, and often in the background, as the foreground contains the unnamed patron wanting to rent her time. It's a construction meant to make you feel uncomfortable with this world, until we reach the flashback, where at first things make more sense, but that's a facade. Of all of those things that seem odd in this film, none stand out as much as that casting. For modern audiences, it's Gene Kelly who seems out of place, though less so for moviegoers of the 1940s. Kelly had come to Hollywood after his stage success in Pal Joey, where, of note, he plays a cad. He'd come as a song and dance man, and 4 of his 6 films were musicals, but 2 were not. They were wartime dramas, where he demonstrated, particularly in the salad The Cross of Lorraine, that he could perform with or without dance shoes. And he was under contract. The studio wasn't going to let him go to waste when they didn't have a musical in production. Plus, the role was perfect for him. A charming man who's also dangerous and cruel. Those are attributes that oozed from Kelly.
Romantic, ain't I?
It's Deanna Durbin who raised some eyebrows. This actress, who was at one point the highest paid woman in the country, has fallen out of pop culture. Known as the Winnipeg Sweetheart, Durbin was a teenage singing sensation with an operatic voice that Disney found too mature for Snow White. She ended up at Universal. Its new management had been tricked by Breen into giving up horror, leaving them with few moneymakers. A series of teen comedies, where Durbin's characters fixed everyone's problems while singing, saved the studio, and made Durbin one of the biggest stars of the era. However, these movies weren't very good. Is that my opinion? Yes, but more importantly, it was Durbin's. She wanted to do something more, something complex, and something adult. This was her chance. And she's superb. The film was a significant financial success, but Durbin's fans weren't happy. Many didn't want her to grow up. The New York Times finished their review with, "But it is really grotesque and outlandish what they've done to Miss Durbin in this film. Imagine a sweet schoolgirl performing the role of Sadie Thompson in Rain." But she wasn't a schoolgirl anymore. Seeing there was little future in trying for a more interesting career, and never fond of public life anyway, Durbin retired a few years later, at 27, to marry and live a private life in France. She was, however, rightly proud of this film. The third most important cast member is not Dean Herons as the GI, but Gail Sundergaard as the mother. Unlike Durbin, she was playing to type. But that works here, as few are as good at purveying a sense of malignancy as Sundergaard. Christmas Holiday is one of the few female-led noirs, with the main character being led astray not by the femme fatale, but a homme fatale. It's the man who drags down the woman.
Maybe Robert could explain it to you. I don't think I know anybody who'd explain things more clearly to a beautiful woman than Robert.
Abigail's given every warning.
Oh, there are certain traits in Robert that you may not... They're nothing really evil, believe me. He just sometimes forgets his sense of responsibility, that's all. And that's why I'm so glad that you're the kind of person you are. Between us, we will make him strong.
Nothing foreboding about, "We will make him strong." But she can't help herself. She can't even bring herself to see. We're never told what, exactly, is wrong with Robert. Instead, it is left as something existential, almost Lovecraftian, something hidden. But that's fitting for noirs. The femme fatales are what they are, and can't be anything else. And so it is with Robert. And Abigail, like so many male noir protagonists before and after her, tumbles into her own hell, because she didn't run, and if given another chance, would do exactly the same thing. While not a musical, music is very important in Christmas Holiday. From the church music to Wagner's Liebestod, which plays diegetically when Abigail and Robert meet, and non-diegetically at the end. Wagner rarely denotes a happy relationship. Jackie/Abigail sings Frank Lesser's "Spring Will Be a Little Late This Year" at the brothel, depressed and bored. And Irving Berlin's "Always" in a moment of happiness that we see as ironic. And again, at the club, indicating her addiction to Robert. One of my favorite composers, Hans J. Salter, was nominated for the Academy Award for the score. Salter and Frank Skinner were responsible for the scores of well over 100 Universal pictures, both with and without their knowledge, as the studio would reuse their work over and over. It was worth using. I assumed that Salter was the lone composer here, but both he and Skinner said they were incorrectly credited on movies, sometimes listing only one when both were involved, or listing the wrong one. This is a good score, though not one of their best. Those were to be found in the Universal monsters, particularly the Wolfman and the Son of Frankenstein, though I'm happy with this nomination. Christmas Holiday is a great film, complex, emotional, and thoughtful. But is it a Christmas film? It's often suggested that you could remove the holiday and nothing would change, but I disagree. The dichotomy is necessary. The hope and joy of the season contrasted with the anger and despair. Abigail collapsing in tears wouldn't be the same in a library or even a regular church service. No, it has to be a Christmas Mass. And she's holding it together, barely, until the choir starts Adeste Fidelis. It's here that her mind goes to what she thought her life should be, instead of what it is. And it's too much for her. That's very much Christmas.